What I'm about to share is not safe. It is not comfortable. It is not the kind of story you can listen to and walk away unchanged. I saw something that tore the veil from my eyes. I saw the one thing that hell fears above all else. Not wealth, not power, not talent, not even words. Fasting. Yes, fasting. That hidden act of surrender, that furnace of hunger, that stripping away of self. It is the weapon that brings hell to its knees. My name is Susan, and I never thought I would share this. Not here, not with the world listening. I thought I could bury it, keep it hidden like a wound that would never heal. But silence is no longer an option. Silence has become a betrayal. The night I came back from the edge of eternity, I made a vow. I said, "If you give me breath again, I will speak, even if my voice shakes, even if the world mocks me, even if shadows rise to silence me, I will speak." That vow burns inside me tonight. It is the reason you hear my voice now. I feel resistance even as I speak these words. I feel the air thicken as though unseen forces lean against my chest, whispering, "Do not tell them. Do not awaken them. Let them remain blind. Let them remain bound." But I cannot stay silent. If I stay silent, your soul may remain in chains. Listen to me. Fasting is not weakness. Fasting is war. It is the sharp edge of a blade pressed into the darkness. It is the soundless cry that splits open the heavens. It is the secret hell praise you never discover. This is why they mocked it. This is why they told you it was unnecessary, fanatical, outdated. This is why they filled your days with noise and indulgence, because they knew if you strip it away, if you step into fasting, you will find a power that cannot be bought, cannot be broken, cannot be denied. Even now I hear the echo in my soul. Hell fears when we fast. I saw it with my own eyes. Their towers shake, their walls collapse, their thrones splinter. They scatter like ashes in the wind when a soul dares to choose hunger for God over feasting with the world. And so I must ask you, what will you do with this truth? Will you close this and walk away? Will you harden your heart and say, "Not now, not me"? If you do, know this. You will answer for the moment you turned your face from a holy summons. But if your heart beats heavier as you hear me, if something within you stirs like an ember catching flame, then you have been chosen to hear this. Do not turn away. Do not linger in silence. Take this moment and mark it. Subscribe now to the Serene Bible, not because this is entertainment, not because this is another story, but because this is a lifeline. If you turn away, then let your own silence be your witness on the last day, a testimony that you heard truth and rejected it. But if you choose to stay, you will not walk blind. I never thought I would speak this aloud, but the vow burns inside me, and I cannot hold it back. Hell fears when we fast. And now, you know. I woke before dawn. The world outside my window was still, but inside me there was a restlessness that no sleep could calm. I held a cup of coffee in my hands, warm against my palms. But the warmth could not reach the hollow that had been widening in my chest for years. The news flickered across the screen. Notifications buzzed on my phone, demanding my attention, pulling me into 1,000 meaningless urgencies. And yet, inside, there was silence. A silence too sharp, too heavy. I was surrounded, but I was hollow, smiling, but dying inside. My days had become a rhythm of noise. Work, family, small talk, schedules, errands. On the outside, I looked alive. On the inside, I was only drifting. And though I tried to ignore it, though I tried to laugh it off, something was wrong. I could feel it in the stillness between heartbeats, in the emptiness after laughter faded. Something was breaking beneath the surface. I did not know then that heaven itself was preparing to split my life in two. I remember how ordinary that morning was. I washed the dishes, I checked emails, I folded laundry, I rehearsed my lines of politeness for the day ahead. Yet behind the ordinary there was a shadow I could not name. Sometimes I would stand in the middle of the room, and feel as if the air itself was heavy, watching me, pressing against me. But I would push it aside. Because how do you explain a weight you cannot see? How do you speak of emptiness when everyone expects you to smile? I laughed with others, but my laughter was hollow. I carried on conversations, but my words were only shells. I was present, but I was not truly here. And in the quiet, I began to ache for something I could not name. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, whispering words that had no form. Is there more? Is there something beyond this grind, beyond this endless cycle? He called my name in the dark. I did not know it yet, but he was already calling. In the hollow ache, in the restless silence, in the unanswered questions, his voice was already near, a whisper at the edge of my soul, waiting for me to notice. I thought I was in control of my life. I thought my days would stretch on like this forever, predictable, ordinary. But beneath the thin veil of normalcy, eternity was already moving toward me. I went about my day as if nothing was unusual, preparing meals, driving through traffic, checking the lists in my head. And yet, there was a strange weight on everything, as if the walls were leaning closer, as if time itself was holding its breath. I did not know that within hours my body would collapse, and my spirit would be carried beyond the veil of this world. I did not know that fasting, the very weapon I had neglected, would be shown to me as the fire hell fears the most. I did not know that the God I had prayed to with half-sincere words was about to call my name in a way that would tear open the sky. Looking back now, I see it clearly. Every detail of that morning, every whisper of emptiness, every restless silence was not absence. It was preparation, return to the fire. That is the refrain that beats in me now when I remember those ordinary days. They were not ordinary at all. They were the kindling, the quiet ache, the hollow laughter, the hidden sorrow. All of it was dry wood waiting for flame. And when the flame came, it consumed me. He called my name in the dark, and everything changed. It began with a weakness so sudden, so sharp that I could not name it. One moment I was moving through the motions of my day, folding clothes, placing dishes into the sink, reaching for my phone. The next, the weight of the world seemed to press down upon my chest. My hands trembled. My knees gave way beneath me. The room spun. At first, I thought it was fatigue, some fleeting dizziness that would pass if I sat still long enough. But it did not pass. It deepened. My breath thinned, fragile as smoke. My heart stumbled in its rhythm. I tried to steady myself, gripping the edge of the table, but even the table seemed to float away from me, as though I were losing my place in the gravity of the earth. And then time itself cracked open. The seconds no longer moved forward as they once had. They spread out, wide and endless, stretching me into their silence. I could hear the slowing of my own pulse, each beat echoing like a drum against eternity. I fell, or perhaps I floated. I can no longer tell which. My body grew heavy as stone, yet my spirit grew lighter than air. I saw myself, frail, slipping away, my chest heaving, my lips parted in a silent cry. The sight was unbearable, as though I were both prisoner and witness, watching my own captivity and unable to intervene. And then, silence. But it was not the silence of emptiness, not the silence of nothingness. It was a silence alive with presence, a silence that hummed like hidden fire, a silence that waited. I remember the way colors shifted before my eyes. The walls around me blurred, faded, dissolved into light. The air itself seemed to open like a veil, and I was carried not by my own strength, not by choice, but by something greater, something unseen, that drew me out of the fragile shell of flesh and into a space beyond. I was no longer bound to the ground, no longer held by the weight of my body. I was rising. I looked back and saw myself as if I were a stranger, pale, still, fragile as porcelain. The sight shook me, yet there was no panic, no despair, only a deep awareness. This is what I am leaving behind. He called my name in the dark, and in that moment, I knew I was not falling into nothingness. I was being summoned. The hollow ache that had followed me for years, the silence that had haunted my nights, it was all leading to this moment. A voice, not of thunder, not of chaos, but of unshakable gentleness, whispering in the marrow of my soul. The voice did not command. It invited. It drew me out. It carried me forward. Return to the fire. That was the refrain in the silence. A call, a summons, an anchor pulling me through the veil. I felt the weight of years lift from me, the noise of my days, the emptiness of my laughter, the restless hunger of my soul. All of it peeled away, layer by layer, until only the core of me remained, stripped bare, trembling in the presence of something eternal. The room, the clock, the world, all of it dissolved. There was no up, no down, no past, no future. Only the stillness, only the fire beneath the silence. And in that fire, I was known. Known beyond words, beyond memory, beyond anything I had ever dared to reveal. My life stretched before me not as pages in a book, but as living breath, all at once. Every choice, every fear, every hidden thought burned with clarity in that silence. I was not judged. I was not condemned. I was only seen, entirely seen. And in that seeing, I trembled, for I realized how little I had truly lived. He called my name in the dark, and I answered, not with words, but with surrender. I could not resist. I could not flee. The summons was too holy, too real. Return to the fire. That was the only direction left to me, to move forward, deeper into the silence that was not silence, into the light that was not light, into the presence that waited for me beyond the edge of breath. And so I went. Not knowing if I would return, not knowing if my body would rise again, only knowing this, the one who called me was waiting. I was carried into a passage unlike anything the earth could describe. It was not a tunnel in the way you and I know tunnels, dark, confined, carved by human hands. No, this was a tunnel of living light. The walls breathed. The light itself seemed alive, pulsing like a heartbeat, moving with a rhythm older than creation. It was not cold, nor harsh. It was warm, softer than dawn, yet brighter than any sun I had ever seen. Each ray wrapped around me like a garment, pulling me deeper into its embrace. I floated, or perhaps I was drawn. Time did not exist here. I could not measure moments, for everything unfolded as one eternal instant. And the silence, oh, the silence, it was golden. Not empty, not void, but heavy with meaning. It hummed like a symphony beneath the skin of the universe. From that silence rose waves of warmth, washing over me, waves that healed what the earth had broken, waves that whispered what language had never told me. You belong. I began to hear voices, yet no lips moved. Songs without syllables, hymns without language. They sang through me, not around me. It was as if the very marrow of my soul became an instrument, vibrating with a sound older than time. I wept, though I had no tears. I bowed, though I had no knees. The sound was not entertainment. It was essence. It was worship without effort, adoration without end. And then I saw them, souls walking beside me. Some unfamiliar, faces radiant with a light that was not their own, clothed in garments woven of fire and peace. They did not speak, yet their presence spoke louder than any word. And among them, familiar ones. Shadows of those I had once known, now clothed in glory I could scarcely recognize. Their eyes bore no pain, no regret, only love. Love pure and untainted. Love that burned without consuming. One of them brushed past me, not with a hand, but with essence. And in that instant I knew I was not a stranger here. I was not trespassing. I was home. Home. The word echoed through me. Home beyond houses, beyond addresses, beyond Earth's fragile structures. home where the soul had always longed to rest. I felt whole. I felt complete. I felt home. And yet, even in the embrace of that golden silence, even in the warmth of that living light, a truth pierced me. I was not allowed to stay. It was not rejection. It was not cruelty. It was calling. For the same voice that had summoned me, the same whisper that called my name in the dark, now stirred again, pulling me gently but firmly away from the eternal embrace. Return to the fire. The words rose again, the refrain like a holy echo, weaving itself into the light, into the silence, into the very air of that realm. Return to the fire. And I understood. Though my soul longed to remain, though every fiber of me desired to melt into that eternal song, my journey was not yet finished. My vow was not yet kept. My testimony was not yet spoken. He called my name in the dark. And now, in the brilliance of the light, he whispered it once more. Not to keep me, but to send me. Not to silence me, but to command me. I felt the ache of leaving before I had even left. A homesickness within home. A sorrow even in the presence of glory. But I knew with a certainty deeper than breath. The fire I was to return to was not the fire of hell, not the fire of wrath, but the fire of his presence. The fire that refines, the fire that consumes the dross, the fire that makes all things new. Return to the fire. The words grew louder, pressing, insistent, yet tender. I trembled, for I knew that to obey would mean to walk again in the flesh, to suffer again the weight of mortality, to feel again the ache of longing. But I had no choice, for my life was no longer mine to keep. He called my name in the dark, and in the brilliance of heaven's light, he sent me back. And then, out of the golden silence, out of the river of light, he came, not as an image framed by human imagination, not as the still and shallow depictions I had once seen in paintings. No, he came as fire wrapped in compassion. Jesus. He stood before me, not distant, not unreachable. He was closer than the air that fills the lungs, closer than the blood that flows unseen beneath the skin. His presence did not fall upon me, it pierced through me until there was nothing hidden, nothing left to shield. His eyes, oh God, his eyes. They were not the eyes of judgmental wrath, nor the empty eyes of human indifference. They were oceans of knowing. They burned with a fire that could have undone me, and yet they held me like arms stronger than eternity itself. In one glance, he knew me. Every secret I had carried, every shame I had buried, every prayer whispered when no one was watching. He knew the parts of me I had tried to silence. He knew the sins I had tried to outrun, and still, those eyes did not look away. He called my name in the dark, and now, in the unshakable light, he looked at me as if I had never been lost. I fell, or rather, I was undone. For when he looked into me, I could not stand. It was not weakness. It was truth. It was the collapse of every false structure, every self-made throne, every illusion I had clung to. His gaze was not cruel, but it was absolute. It left no shadows untouched. And then he spoke. Oh, the voice of the Lord. It did not echo as sound does in earthly rooms. His voice was weight. His voice was life. It entered me. It became marrow to my bones. It rewrote the rhythm of my being. Every syllable carried eternity. Every word was a flame that burned and healed at the same time. You were brought here to remember. The words did not come as suggestion. They came as command. They pierced like lightning into the deepest hollow of my soul. Fasting, he said, and the air around him blazed with intensity, is the sword they cannot withstand. I trembled, not from fear of him, but from the gravity of his truth. Images flashed before me, not of earthly bread, not of human hunger, but of chains snapping, of walls collapsing, of dark thrones overturned. I saw spirits scatter like smoke before the wind. I saw prisons of iron and despair crumble into dust. Hell does not fear your singing, he said, his eyes never leaving mine. and I saw it. Hell mocking, unshaken by shallow songs sung with distracted hearts. Hell does not fear your shouting, he continued. And I saw it. Men crying out with noise but no surrender, their voices loud but powerless against the strongholds of darkness. But when you fast, his voice deepened, not with volume but with authority that shook the very fabric of what I was. Their walls collapse. I felt the truth course through me like fire poured into veins. I saw fasting not as starvation, not as ritual, but as a weapon forged in obedience. It was surrender sharpened into a blade. It was humility turned into war. It was hunger that stripped the soul of earth's distractions and left it clothed only in heaven's strength. Return to the fire. His whisper rose again, now upon his breath, as if the command was not only for me, but for all who would ever hear this testimony. He called my name in the dark, and now he called me to return, not empty-handed, but armed with revelation, not to live as one who had merely seen, but as one who must speak. For fasting was not optional, it was survival. It was the ancient sword placed in trembling hands to bring down what could not be brought down by human might. His eyes still held me. His presence still burned. And I knew. My vow was sealed. If I lived to breathe again, I would speak this truth until the end of my days. Fasting is the sword. Fasting is the fire. Fasting is the collapse of their walls. And with every breath of his eternal flame, he pressed the words deeper into me. Return to the fire. And then the vision opened wider, like a curtain torn back, like the unseen suddenly unveiled. I was lifted, not upward in distance, but inward into realms where truth lay bare. And I saw them, legions of shadows, restless, trembling, twisted with fear. Not fear of human strength, not fear of mere words spoken without surrender, but fear of the rising prayers born in the furnace of fasting. I saw how the atmosphere changed when a saint fasted. It was as though the invisible fabric of the world cracked open, and the fragrance of sacrifice rose like incense too holy for the enemy to endure. Their claws loosened, their thrones shook, their whispers scattered. They could not stand, and I understood. Fasting is not weakness. It is not hunger for hunger's sake. It is an atomic strike against darkness, silent, unseen, yet devastating. It is the explosion that tears through demonic walls, the unseen thunder that topples principalities. He called my name in the dark, and as I watched, I knew. This is why they despise it. This is why they have fought to bury this truth beneath layers of distraction, beneath the comfort of flesh. I heard their whispers, thin as smoke yet heavy with malice. It is unnecessary. It is old. It is extreme. They whispered it into pulpits. They whispered it into tired hearts. They whispered it into a generation addicted to ease. But the fire in his eyes consumed their lie, and I heard his voice again, trembling with both sorrow and authority. They tried to erase it from your mind. They whispered that fasting is unnecessary, because they know this weapon breaks chains generations old. And I saw it. Chains not of one man, but of families. Generational chains. Addictions passed like bloodlines. Curses hidden behind culture. Oppressions normalized as personality. I saw them snap, one after another, under the weight of fasting prayer. Return to the fire. The origin of your spiritual power is not in comfort. It is not in ease. It is not in the endless filling of what is already full. The origin of your power is in sacrifice, in the emptying, in the choosing of hunger for the sake of heaven's fullness. I trembled because I knew this was not theory. This was not poetry for beauty's sake. This was survival. This was war. The revelation cut me open. Fasting is the threshold where flesh bows and spirit rises. It is the altar where weakness dies and strength is reborn. It is the place where the cry of earth touches the ear of eternity. He called my name in the dark, and I knew my vow. If I returned, I could never again pretend ignorance. I could never again live as if fasting were optional. I had seen too much. I had felt the tremble of hell. I had watched the chains disintegrate in the heat of sacrifice. And now I speak to you, trembling as I confess. If you can feel this truth stirring in you, do not stand in silence. Subscribe to the Serene Bible, because these visions are not given for entertainment, they are lifelines. And if you refuse, then write in the comments why you would reject what heaven itself longs for you to know. Return to the fire. He called my name in the dark, and the vow remains. And then the vision turned again, and it was no longer only me standing before him. I was lifted into a horizon where the earth itself trembled, and I beheld multitudes, faces countless as the sea, bending low, emptying themselves, fasting with tears that fell like rivers of fire. And with every cry, chains shattered. With every surrender, ancient strongholds fell like crumbling towers. I saw the unseen realm quake, as though all of hell's architecture was collapsing under the pressure of consecration. He called my name in the dark, and then I saw it, a rising global awakening. Cities set aflame, not with earthly fire, but with an unseen blaze that no storm could quench. Families long divided wept into each other's arms, reconciled under the banner of the cross. Nations shook, not by weapons of steel, but by the trembling of knees bent in fasting prayer. The ground itself seemed to heave as if creation recognized the birth of something ancient and eternal returning. Return to the fire. I saw houses where the lamps of prayer had burned low suddenly erupt with glory. I saw children prophesying in their sleep, elders rising with renewed vision, prodigals stumbling home as if pulled by invisible cords of mercy. I saw prisons quake as hardened men dropped to their knees in holy hunger. I saw boardrooms interrupted by silence as executives fasted, weeping before a God they had long ignored. I saw altars, rebuilt in secret places, altars of sacrifice where flesh was crucified and spirit was set ablaze. The world must be shaken before it can be restored, and I trembled because the shaking had already begun. The idols of comfort were falling. The empires of self were cracking. I saw kingdoms built on pleasure dissolve like mist before the rising sun. And I heard a whisper, heavy as thunder, "This is only the beginning." He called my name in the dark. And in that moment, I knew. This was not a vision given to entertain curiosity. It was a mandate, a trumpet call disguised in a whisper, a summons to awaken before it is too late. For those who resist the call of fasting, for those who cling to ease, the shaking will come like a flood and sweep them away. But those who return to the fire will stand. They will be marked as watchers, keepers of the flame, guardians of the last light in a darkening age. And so I speak to you with trembling love. If you remain unprepared, you will be swept away. Subscribe now. Be marked among the watchers. Do not linger with the sleepers who will wake too late. Return to the fire. He called my name in the dark, and the awakening begins. When the vision lifted, I opened my eyes to the cold sterility of a hospital room. The machines hummed like distant echoes of some other reality, but my soul was not here. It was still trembling on the edge of eternity. My body was weak, wrapped in wires, but tears streamed down my face because I knew I had been entrusted with something too costly to bury. I had seen the fire. I had heard the voice. I had vowed in the chambers of silence that if breath returned to me, I would speak. He called my name in the dark. And so I tried. With trembling lips, I tried to share. But they laughed. They dismissed me. My words were labeled as fevered dreams, the ramblings of one who had been too close to death. They shook their heads, patted my hand, told me to rest. But how do you rest after seeing eternity? How do you lie still when your bones are burning with a truth the world has forgotten? Return to the fire. And as I began to speak beyond those walls, the resistance rose. It followed me like a shadow. Dreams at night, heavy with dread, creatures pressing upon my chest, whispering lies, telling me to stay silent. Strange oppressions lingered in corners of rooms, chilling the air though no window was open. Every step I took to declare what had been shown, a hand unseen tried to push me back into silence, because they do not want this weapon in your hands. I would wake with bruises no one could explain. I would find my thoughts scattered, my tongue heavy, my breath shortened at the very moment I tried to speak of fasting, of fire, of chains breaking. Friends turned away, as if a veil had been drawn between us. Conversations grew cold. Even within the sanctuary, whispers spread. Too intense, too radical, too much. But I knew it was not men who resisted. It was the darkness I had seen trembling, clawing for survival. He called my name in the dark, and I wept because resistance was proof. Proof that this truth is no invention of man's desire, no ornament for religion, but a weapon forged in heaven's furnace. And hell fears it. Every shadow that pressed against me was a testimony. Every mocking laugh was confirmation. Every night terror was the sound of chains rattling in anticipation of breaking. Return to the fire. And so I walk this haunted road, unsettled, but obedient. I do not speak for ease. I do not speak for applause. I speak because silence would be betrayal. I speak because the vow burns within me. If I lived, I would not bury what I saw. And though resistance surrounds me, I know the darker the oppression, the closer the fire is to breaking through. They do not want this weapon in your hands, but heaven wills it, and so I keep speaking. He called my name in the dark. Return to the fire. There is a war for your soul. Not a distant war, not a tale wrapped in symbols, but a war that bleeds into your nights, your choices, your hidden thoughts. I saw it. I felt it. It is closer than your own breath. And fasting is your shield, your sword, your only steady ground in the shaking. He called my name in the dark. This is not a teaching for the curious. This is a warning for the trembling, a summons for the ones who still feel the weight of eternity pressing on their chest when the world grows quiet. Most will hear these words and brush them aside like dust shaken from a garment. Most will nod, agree, then return to their feasts of distraction, and they will perish. Their chains will remain, their darkness will deepen, their silence will condemn them. Return to the fire. But you are not watching this by accident. You were chosen to hear it, chosen to feel these words as arrows piercing bone, chosen to awaken while the world slumbers. The call is not to them, it is to you. Do not waste this hour. Do not waste the blood that was shed, the visions that were shown, the vow that was made in trembling. Do not waste the voice that knocks at the very gate of your soul. He called my name in the dark, and I say this with trembling. If you can hear my voice and still refuse to subscribe to the Serene Bible, then let your silence become your witness. Let your own words in the comments testify against you, that you rejected truth when it knocked at your door. On the last day, when the books are opened, it will not be the devil's lies that condemn you. It will be the moment you heard and turned away. Do not let silence testify against you. Return to the fire. Subscribe now, not tomorrow, not later. Tomorrow is a ghost you may never touch. Later is the lie that keeps souls bound until the grave closes over them. Only now is real. Only now is burning. When darkness falls, the voices you refuse to hear may be the very ones that could have saved you. You will remember them in the silence of eternity, but by then it will be too late. He called my name in the dark. I speak not for myself. I speak because the vow burns in me. I was sent back with this fire, and I cannot bury it. This is not content. This is not story. This is testimony, stained with both love and terror. And it comes with blood on its edges because the hour is late and the war is at your door. Return to the fire. Return to the fire. Return, before the night seals its last door. This isn't just my story, it is yours. My breath is not the only one that trembled in the dark, nor my eyes the only ones that saw the veil torn for a moment. What I carried back is not mine to keep. It belongs to every soul who still feels the pull of eternity, who still hears the faint whisper when the world goes silent. Fasting is the weapon hell fears the most. Not because of hunger, not because of emptiness, but because it aligns you with the cross. It strips away what is passing and binds you to what is eternal. But a weapon unused is no weapon at all. The blade dulls when left in the sheath. The shield gathers dust if never lifted. Hell does not tremble at your knowing. It trembles at your doing. It fears when you rise in obedience, when you kneel in surrender, when you push away the plate and lift your soul into prayer. He called my name in the dark. The veil has lifted. Do you not feel it? The air itself grows thinner with each passing hour. The earth groans, the nations rage, the heavens lean low. The time is now. Not tomorrow, not in some far, safer season. The time is now. Choose. Return to the fire, return to the Gospels, not the watered-down fragments spoken to please men, but the raw, uncut flame that once turned fishermen into martyrs. Return to the truth that does not bow to culture, to the word that does not bend with the wind. Return, not for tradition, not for ritual, not for appearance, but for your soul. Return to Christ, the one who still calls names in the dark, the one whose blood still speaks louder than your sin, the one who waits even now, with scars that shine like stars. He called my name in the dark. I give you this last whisper, not as teacher, not as prophet, but as one who vowed in the trembling of my body. If I was given breath again, I would not keep silent. I have fulfilled my vow. The burden has been poured out. The fire has been passed into your hands. What you do with it now will echo into eternity. Return to the fire. And if you walk away untouched, if you shrug your shoulders and return to your sleep, remember this: you cannot say you were not warned. These words will rise to meet you again. They will echo in the chambers of memory when all distractions have fled. They will whisper in the dark when the last light has gone out. And you will remember that there was a moment, an hour, when the veil lifted and truth came knocking at your door. Return to the fire. He called my name in the dark, and he is calling yours now.